So as I do these videos, I can't help but think of a friend of mine, Saudi, who has an online presence and her job deals with videos and all that, and offered to help me with my project. She must just be cringing if she's watching any of these videos. So Saudi, I apologize right up front. I just shoot from the hip with these. Anyway, today's topic, or what I want to talk about now on my journey to retirement, is money. Everybody likes to talk about money. I've made a lot of mistakes going into retirement, but I've been fortunate that I made some good choices financially. And while I have a lot of issues and a lot of problems, money isn't one of them. And I wanted to talk about my journey, and hopefully if there's younger people watching, I can give them some advice as to how I did things. But I want to start when I was a sergeant first class in the military, in the Army. You don't make a lot of money in the Army, and it's very precious, but I learned a lesson. Someone taught me that you have to pay yourself first. If you sit there and say, well, I want to see how much money I get this month, and whatever I have left, I'll save it. You'll never save a penny. You have to take money out right from the beginning and pay yourself first. And that was a philosophy I used my whole life. So I had a little bit of a sum of money put together from doing that. And a friend of mine had retired out of the Army, and he went to work for a financial institution, and he was looking for new customers. He came over and did the spiel, and I agreed, okay, I'll let you invest my money, and I'll do a $200 a month allotment from my paycheck to my investment portfolio. $200 was a lot of money back then. It really almost hurt to do 200, but I knew the importance of investing. I didn't touch it. I didn't deal with it for about 2 or 3 years. I would get an end of year. I would get a statement showing me how much tax I owed, or that it was rolled over, or whatever. I was money dumb. And then I got an email from my friend who said he was moving to a different company, and someone else was going to take over my portfolio. And I'm like, okay. And the tax season rolled around, and I was doing my taxes, and I didn't get a form from I was stationed in Germany, and I didn't get a form from the investment company. And I'm like, I got to do my taxes. I need this form. So I called up from Germany, the investment company, being on hold and waiting. This is long before there was an internet. And I said, hey, look, I didn't get my tax documents. I need to get my tax documents. And the lady said to me, yeah, we don't send tax documents out when you lose money. And I'm like, excuse me? Yeah, she's like, yeah, you did not have a good year last year, or whatever she said to me. And I was kind of in shock. And I said, well, what do I have to do to take my money out? She goes, oh, you don't want to do that. And we went back and forth. I had to fill out a form she sent me, and I got all my money out. And I realized that I knew nothing about investments. So I actually bought a book. This is not the original copy I bought, and trust me, I'm not promoting a book. It was called Wealth Without Risk by a gentleman called Charles J. Givens. I bought this on eBay a couple of years ago because this book made such an impact on me at the time. And it's so outdated now. It is way, way, way outdated. But some of the philosophies he had in there were spot on. I remember one philosophy he had was that the household's keys ought to go in one bowl in a spot, and every key ring should have the same keys on it: a house key, the car key, key to the shed, key to this, key to that. Everyone should have the same key on it. And so no matter what keys you grabbed, you could go do what you had to do. There were a key for every car you owned. And I don't know, common sense stuff like that always made me, I like that kind of stuff. Well, I read the book. I must have read the book 5 or 6 times, and I learned about no-load mutual funds, and I started doing my own investing. And I invested and built quite a portfolio, sometimes doing as high as 11, 12% a year, and continuing to put the $200 in. And then when I got out of the Army, I was able to use that money to put a down payment on a nice property. but I continue to invest with every company that I work with. The company I retired from, I remember it was my 5-year anniversary, and they made a big deal about it being, 5 years, you got an award. And one of my people said to me, "Hey, you're vested now." And I'm like, "Well, what does that mean?" They said, "Well, we have a pension plan, and after 5 years, you're vested." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I know we have a 401k, but being vested in a retirement plan was just a bonus." But what I really want to talk about was the 401k plan, because very fortunate to work for the company I work for, they had a 6% match. So what that meant was that if I put 6% in, they would match that into my 401k. And that money, so if I put 6% in, they would put 12% in my 401k. And to me, that was a no-brainer, because if I didn't do it, then I wasn't, I'm leaving money on the table. So I did it, and then we got merit increases every year based on the performance of the company and your performance as an individual. So every time I got a merit increase, I increased it by 1%. I figured I didn't see the money anyway, so I just kept going by 1%, 1%. At one point, I think at the end, I was close to 25% that I was putting in my 401k. Well, the government only lets you put a certain amount in your 401k, and then they stop giving you the match. But even when I hit that point, I usually hit that point sometime in August or September, I would still take the remaining 19% and buy stock with that money, because I wasn't missing it. My paycheck was still the same. But I did that. And then whenever I got a promotion, I only got a few promotions while I was there, I would increase it by 2%. And let me tell you, over time, it really, really builds up. And I was very fortunate to retire with both a pension from the Army, a pension from the company I work with, Abbott Diabetes Care, and then my 401k from Abbott Diabetes Care, as well as other investments over the years. But there are some surprises. First of all, it struck me how hard it is for me to take money out of my 401k. I mean, it's there for retirement, but for me, it's really hard to take out. The other thing that you have to be aware of is the amount of tax that you're going to pay on that money, because that money is all taxable, So if you make under $400,000 a year, it's taxed at, I believe, 22%. So if I take $100,000 out, the government's going to get $22,000 of that. Now, if you go over $400,000, so let's say you made, $500,000 that year, the $400,000 would be taxed at the 22%. That next $100,000 was going to be taxed at the 33%. Talk about ouch. That's every dollar you're earning, 33% of that is going to Uncle Sam. And it's like I knew all this going into the retirement, but it still hits you kind of full face. Just like I'm going to do a really short video coming up on Social Security and Medicare. Again, something else that is taxed that you probably won't. So anyway, I just wanted to do that on my money strategy that worked for me over the years. It's important, I believe, to understand how money works and how investments work. I did all of my own investments up until April of last year, and then I hired a woman, Colleen, to do my investment for me. Now, I was averaging about 11 or 12%, and I invested heavily in my company, the one that I work for a couple reasons. One, I believe you have to have skin in the game with the company that you work for. I believe that at some weird level, me working hard was contributing to the success of the company. But I was very invested in just a couple companies. So I hired this woman, Colleen, through Charles Schwab. That's where my investment is. And she works for Creative Financing, I think is the name of it. And this is not a commercial for her, but I turned it over to her. And I think she gets like 0.8% a year of maybe it's less than that because she has Kelly's too. We got a discounted rate. But this up until now, now being March, and I think late April of last year, she has got me in like 40 or 50 different investments that, again, diversity, right? That if one area goes down, another area goes up. But as of today, I'm doing 22% from what I invested back in that day. And again, this isn't a commercial for Colleen, but I'm very happy. One, that I don't have to deal with it. And two, that she has the time and the effort to figure out to put this percentage here, this percentage there. And I know I'm not guaranteed to do 22% every year, but I'll tell you that was a nice sum. So anyway, please don't take this as a narcissistic video or I've done so well. That's not what this is intended for. My audience, who I hope would hear this message, is a younger crowd, because one, don't let someone else just handle your money with you being ignorant to it. Understand the system. Understand how the stock market works. Understand what mutual funds, stocks, gold, precious metal, all of that works. Because there's no easy solution. It's an education, and one well worth the time to do. And the other thing is, I didn't get old. I tell people that one day I looked in the mirror and there was an old man looking back on me. And you get old before you know it. And when you're in your 50s or 60s is the wrong time to start thinking about that. As hard as it is, and as difficult as it may seem, invest when you're young. You may think, oh, I can't make it with this extra 50 or this extra $100 a month going to my 401k. Trust me, long after I'm gone, you will thank me for doing that investment. So anyway, that's my money, my lessons learned on the road to retirement. An important lesson, and one that I hope I can reach people with. So thanks for listening, if you even listen. And that's all that I have for now. Thank you.